Hello there and welcome to another Coffee with Colm, and thanks for joining me. This week I want to talk about a concept that came back to mind, something I've known for some years, but came back to mind when I attended the Pendulum Summit in Dublin during the week. Fabulous summit, my goodness, life-changing stuff. Delighted to say that I've attended all 5 so far, and I intend it to be a lifelong habit. Met some wonderful people and some wonderful speakers over the years, so congratulations to Frankie Sheehan and Norma and all of the team that pull it together every year. And if you haven't been, well then I suggest that you make a point of getting there next year in 2019. First business week of the year in 2019. Anyway, a wonderful array of speakers, far too many to mention, but some of the highlights included Baroness Michelle Mone, who invented the Ultimo bra. I'm sure all the ladies out there will know who I'm talking about. Jo Malone. Again, a lot of the ladies would know Jo Malone and her wonderful scented candles, etc. And of course Sir Richard Branson, a favourite of mine and a long-time business and lifestyle hero of mine. So over the next number of weeks I want to talk about some of the stuff that came back to mind, or that I learned indeed from listening to those wonderful speakers, or indeed just from meeting some of the great people that attended the event. Over 6,000 people over 2 days in Dublin during the week. Just truly amazing and wonderful. But there was a guy on stage on Thursday afternoon, and he was a comedian. He was a bit of light relief, not that relief was required, but he was a bit of comedic light relief in the afternoon in between some world-class speakers, and his name was Colm O'Regan, and he told some hilarious stories, but one of which caught my attention, and he told the story of two guys ordering a sandwich in a deli. One was American and the other was Irish, and the American knew exactly what he wanted and went in with characteristic American bravado and assertiveness, and told the sandwich technician, as Colm referred to this individual as, told him exactly what he wanted, and the fact that he thinks he has an intolerance to egg and therefore would prefer not to have any egg in his sandwich, and the technician duly complied. Paddy comes up next, and Paddy has in fact got a life-threatening allergy to eggs, but Paddy, not being quite as assertive as his American cousin, decides to sort of say, listen, will you just go easy on the egg there, Mick? And Mick takes that to think, well, sure, look, I'll put in half the regular portion instead of the full Monty, and duly does so. Of course, Paddy, instead of confronting Mick with it, Paddy turns to the guy behind him and says he's putting an egg in. And the technician says, well, will that be all? And Paddy says, that's grand, that'll do fine, I'll scrape it out. Right, and he takes his egg-laden sandwich and goes to pay. So Colm finished that fabulous piece, that hilarious piece, which he tells much better than I do. He finished that by saying, lads, if you don't want egg in your sandwich, say it. And I thought, isn't that just a wonderful phrase? So I wrote that phrase down, and it got me thinking over the last few days, and I decided to build on it. If you don't want egg in your sandwich, say it. We're not particularly good here in Ireland at being assertive in terms of what we want. We're not particularly good at knowing, in fact, what we want. And we're probably even worse at knowing what we don't want. But there are certain things that we don't want. And if we realise there's something that we don't want, well then we should have the guts enough, the courage enough, the self-respect enough to say, do you know what? I don't want that, thank you very much indeed. And be willing to walk away if that's what's required, so that something is not foisted upon you. And it reminded me of Stephen Covey, the late great Stephen Covey, who's one of my all-time favourite thought leaders. And Stephen, in his works, spoke of the various different models of winning. And he spoke about win-win, and he spoke about win-lose, and he spoke about lose-win, and he spoke about lose, and he spoke about win, and he spoke about a very interesting one called no deal. And these are all various levels of winning, of conducting business. And they're very interesting. Win-win does exactly what it says in the tin, but it's not compromise. Win-win, in fact, is a situation where parties get together and they create something that they couldn't have created on their own. So, and the outcome is 1 + 1 = 3, 4, 5, 100, 1,000, 1,000,000, infinity. Win-win is truly that. It is where all parties win. Win-lose is obviously where one party wins at the expense of the other. and therefore is not, necessarily a good deal, certainly not for one party. Lose-win is where one party capitulates and gives in to keep the peace, so as not to offend, and in doing so perhaps buries some resentment deep down that may come out in time to come. So lose-win is not necessarily a positive outcome for either party. Win on its own is where one party seeks to win and really doesn't bother them whether the other party wins, loses or draws. It's irrelevant to them. They've got a particular agenda and they're out to win. Lose, I don't know that many people go out to lose on its own, but people often do. They go out and make deals that just they bow the head, take the blows and walk away, and they end up losing. Compromise is another model of doing business, but compromise is not win-win. Compromise is far too often confused with win-win, but compromise is in fact where win-win is two parties come together, 1 + 1 = 3, 4, 5 to infinity. Compromise is where two parties come together and they both give something, they both lose something in the deal, and so 1 + 1 = 1.5 perhaps. Which brings me to the last one, and probably the most interesting one, which is no deal. And no deal is a very real option when it comes to doing some business. So both parties get together with genuine intent to do some form of deal. And probably most parties come together with the intention of doing a win-win deal. Let's assume they do. But if rather than one party capitulating and ending up in a win-lose or a lose-win situation, no deal is a very real option for either party. And it's where two parties get together, want to do some business, want to create some form of partnership, or somebody wants to join a company, or somebody wants to hire somebody, or whatever. And they reserve no deal as one of the options. And no deal is where the discussions get to a particular point where it really isn't going to be win-win, and somebody really doesn't want to go for win-lose or indeed lose-win, so they say, listen, you can see we'd love to work with you, we'd love to partner with you, we'd love to hire you, I'd love to join you, whatever the situation is, but we're clearly not aligned, our values are not aligned, we're not heading in the same direction, we both have a different view of how the future looks at this point, so let's just agree to no deal. Let's not do a deal now, we won't do a partnership now, we won't buy you out now, you won't buy us out now. And no deal is where two parties maturely say, that's it, we'll draw a line in the sand at this point in time, shake hands, wish you well. And no deal is very empowering and leaves the door open potentially for a deal to be done, a proper deal, a right deal to be done in the future. But no deal is in fact the right deal for now. And very interestingly, very recently in Carambola, we had a situation where no deal was the preferred option at the end of a lengthy series of discussions where one party was basically rubbing their hands saying, I have them now. And truthfully, it was in such a shape that it felt to me like the right thing to do was to go for lose-win in this particular situation. It had been drawn out for a long period of time, and I thought, do you know what, we can put this to bed. We'll take a hit. It'll be lose-win, but we'll get on with it. And somebody on the Carambola board suggested that I reconsider and just relook at it. And when I stood back from it, I realised that going for no deal, while temporarily painful, was in fact the absolute right thing to go for. And so we got together. One party was expecting us to sign up to the lose-win deal, and was quite taken aback when we said no deal, thank you very much. But it was very empowering. So really what I'm coming to after all of that is to say that no deal, when you're heading into your business this week to conduct business in this next week, well then consider all the various options in relation to you doing business. Consider win-win, consider win-lose, ask yourself, are you in a lose-win situation? Ask yourself, are you willing to compromise? Ask yourself, are you just going for win? Ask yourself, are you going for lose? Or indeed ask yourself, is this a situation where we're better off going for no deal? And all of that came from Colin O'Regan suggesting that if you don't want egg in your sandwich, say it. And thank you for joining me for this week's Coffee with Colm. I hope and trust as ever that you got something from it. If you have enjoyed it and you'd like some more of this type of stuff, then pop to the homepage, colmobryanmotivation.com, leave me your details. We'll send you a link like this on a weekly basis. If you think somebody else would benefit, I'd be delighted and honoured if you'd pass the link on to somebody somebody else out there of like mind. If it's been of help to you, pop a comment on the blog. Love to hear from you. Most importantly, please consider what's been shared here today and apply it into your thinking for this next week. And then equally as importantly, please join me next week. Come back next week. Let's have another coffee together. I'll take another snippet. For the next number of weeks, I'll take snippets that I've gleaned from my trip to Pendulum 18 and see where they lead both you and I. Meantime, get some good coffee if you can. Get some R&R. Get some fresh air. If you spend a lot of time alone, please go meet some people. If you spend a lot of time with people, I recommend please go meet yourself. Go take some quiet time, and when the time is right, only when the time is right, get the head back in the game, get organised the week ahead, and get stuck in and make a difference next week. Really love my coffee. Talk to you soon. Bye for now.